Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a topic that might seem, well, a little unexpected when you first hear it: the profound impact of generative AI on your local regional bank. You see, GenAI seems to be everywhere, reshaping industries from entertainment to healthcare with its incredible ability to create new content and insights. But how does this groundbreaking technology truly impact something as foundational and, let's be honest, traditionally human-centric as your neighborhood bank? You might think that this cutting edge tech is just for the global financial giants, the behemoths of Wall Street. Yet, the material we've explored reveals a really fascinating story. For regional banks, GenAI isn't merely about cutting costs or optimizing operations, it's rapidly becoming a strategic imperative, a crucial path to long term survival and renewed relevance in an increasingly digital world. This really represents, well, a fundamental inflection point for financial services as a whole.
Indeed. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a comprehensive set of sources exploring precisely how regional banks are, or perhaps more accurately, how they should be adopting generative AI. We'll unpack the strategic value this technology brings, delve into its practical applications, discuss the foundational technology required to even, get started, examine the critical risks involved, and perhaps most importantly, explore the profound human element of this whole transformation.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding not just what GenAI is doing in regional banking, but why it matters to you. Whether you're a customer who values that personalized service, or maybe an industry professional navigating this shift, or just someone endlessly curious about how technology is changing the world around us.
We'll guide you through this nuanced landscape, highlighting surprising facts and key takeaways that will leave you, hopefully, well-informed, and perhaps sparking some new questions of your own. Okay, let's start unpacking this.
The generative AI imperative for regional banking.
So, the research we've reviewed immediately positions generative AI as a fundamental inflection point for financial services. It's clearly more than just buzz. It's about deep-seated change that impacts the very core of how banks operate and compete.
What's truly fascinating here is how the conversation has evolved. Initially, the focus for many institutions was almost entirely on achieving operational efficiencies and, well, basic cost cutting. But now the strategic imperative has shifted. It's a much more profound discussion about genuine value creation, competitive differentiation, and even for many institutions, long-term survival. It's really no longer a question of if regional banks will adopt GenAI, but how. How they will do so to fortify their strategic advantages and stay relevant.
And the competitive pressure is certainly undeniable. Reports indicate a pretty strong sentiment among banking executives. 8 out of 10 surveyed believe that institutions failing to implement AI will inevitably fall behind their competitors.
That's a powerful signal, right, of how urgent this is becoming. It really is. And market projections further underscore this commitment. The market for generative AI in finance is expected to surge from approximately $2 billion this year in 2024 to over $10 billion by 2029. Now, historically, advanced tech like this was exclusive to the global financial titans, the cost, the complexity. But here's where it gets really interesting. The democratization of powerful AI models through accessible APIs, application programming interfaces, and pre-trained systems has significantly lowered the barrier to entry. This truly allows mid-tier and regional banks to experiment with sophisticated tools that were once, well, the exclusive domain of only the largest players. This accessibility creates both a huge opportunity and at the same time an urgent call to action.
So when we talk about value creation, what does this actually mean in terms of, tangible returns? The analysis from McKinsey & Company, one of our sources, estimates that GenAI could inject a massive $200 billion to $340 billion annually,
Right.
globally, across the whole banking sector.
Right.
To put that in perspective, that's between 2.8% and 4.7% of the industry's total revenues. That's not just a rounding error. That's real impactful money.
Exactly. And crucially, this value isn't just derived from efficiency gains, though those are certainly a significant part of the equation. It's about fundamentally redefining the entire customer relationship, personalizing services at an unprecedented scale, and empowering truly data-driven risk management strategies. For regional banks, this means leveraging GenAI to amplify their traditional strengths, their strong community focus, their role as trusted advisors, and combining that with the sophisticated digital capabilities that modern customers now expect and, frankly, demand. It's about blending the best of both worlds.
That brings us to an important question. How does this imperative manifest differently for regional banks compared to their global counterparts? It feels like their priorities might be quite distinct.
That's a perceptive observation. Large money center banks like JP Morgan Chase are very clearly racing for strategic dominance. They're investing heavily to develop proprietary, market-disrupting innovations like their own index GPT and projecting, up to $2 billion in value from GenAI. Their goal is often to create entirely new business models, capture vast new market segments. For regional banks, however, the calculus is far more fundamental. It's really a matter of strategic survival and sustained relevance. They face fierce competition not only from larger banks, but also from nimble fintechs that are often built from the ground up on modern AI-native tech stacks. So the primary risk for a regional bank isn't failing to invent the next groundbreaking AI application, but rather losing relevance and market share as their customers migrate to competitors offering a superior, more personalized, and seamless digital experience.
And they have to do all this while contending with tighter budgets and significant legacy technology debt, right? That sounds like quite a balancing act, trying to innovate with those constraints.
It absolutely is. Huge balancing act. So the strategic value of GenAI for a regional bank isn't about winning some technological arms race. It's about fortifying its core franchise. It's about using AI to defend its existing customer base, deepen relationships through hyper-personalization, and operate with a level of efficiency that allows it to compete effectively in the modern era. It's about leveraging technology to protect and enhance what makes them unique.
This leads to a critical strategic pivot for these banks then. Framing GenAI adoption not as a series of isolated tech projects, but as a holistic business transformation. The sources we've examined strongly suggest that the safest and most successful entry point is to prioritize use cases that augment human employees rather than attempting to replace them entirely.
Yes, this augment-first strategy is truly vital. Consider the difference. An AI co-pilot for a loan underwriter or maybe an agent assist tool for a call center representative that carries significantly less regulatory, operational, and reputational risk than a fully autonomous customer-facing decision engine. This human-in-the-loop approach serves as a natural guardrail, ensuring that human judgment remains central, and it aligns perfectly with emerging regulatory expectations for human oversight. In fact, many of the most successful initial GenAI deployments in the industry, things like call summarization or internal knowledge management, have been augmentative and internal-facing. This pragmatic path to value aligns perfectly with the typically conservative and risk-aware culture of a regional banking institution. It allows for evolution without, betting the entire franchise on unproven high-risk applications.
So it's about making our people superpowered, not obsolete. The core insight here is that for regional banks, augmentation isn't just a strategy. It's the safest, most impactful on-ramp to GenAI, aligning perfectly with their risk-averse culture and emerging regulations. It's smart evolution over risky revolution.
A curated portfolio of high-impact use cases.
All right, so if the goal is augmentation and tangible return on investment, where do regional banks realistically begin? The research highlights 4 key areas for an initial foray into GenAI that promise significant impact. Let's start with enhancing customer service and engagement.
Transforming customer service is truly one of the most immediate and impactful applications of GenAI. It's a natural fit. Modern banking customers have higher expectations than ever, demanding instant 24/7 support across various channels. GenAI enables banks to meet this demand by deploying AI-powered intelligent virtual agents, chatbots, voice agents that can provide round-the-clock, omni-channel support for routine inquiries. These agents can handle a high volume of common questions, things like balance checks, transaction history requests, or even password resets, which importantly frees human agents to dedicate their valuable time and expertise to more complex, nuanced, and high-value customer issues.
And the scalability is impressive, right? I saw some figures.
Oh, absolutely. The scalability is well documented. Wells Fargo's Fargo Virtual Assistant, for example, handled 20 million customer interactions shortly after its launch. And Klarna's AI assistant now manages a workload equivalent to that of 700 full-time human agents.
Wow, 700 people. That's a massive leap in efficiency and customer accessibility.
Huge. But beyond full automation for simple tasks, these agent assist tools are incredibly powerful for the human agents themselves, because they integrate directly into call center workflows to provide representatives with real-time support. Imagine an agent speaking with a customer, and the AI instantly pulls up the customer's history, summarizes previous interactions, provides step-by-step guidance through complex processes, all in real time. Some systems even perform sentiment analysis on a customer's voice, flagging when a customer is becoming frustrated.
Oh, that's clever, helping the agent de-escalate.
Exactly. It helps the human agent to de-escalate the situation and get the conversation back on track. By equipping human agents with these AI-powered co-pilots, banks can significantly reduce call handle times, improve first call resolution rates, and ultimately boost both customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction because employees feel more empowered and effective.
Okay, moving to the next area. Hyper-personalized marketing and sales. This really sounds like a game changer for how banks connect with customers. What's fascinating here is the shift from generic mass marketing to truly hyper-personalized engagement at scale.
You're right. This is about taking personalization to an entirely new level. By analyzing vast amounts of customer data, and this includes everything from transaction histories and spending behaviors to past service interactions, GenAI models can develop a truly deep understanding of each customer's individual financial situation and needs. This moves way beyond simple customer segmentation to deliver genuinely tailored product recommendations, personalized financial advice, and marketing messages that resonate one-to-one with the individual. This is a level of personalization that was previously just unimaginable at a large scale. It would have required immense manual effort.
So this capability extends to empowering the bank's own sales and relationship management teams as well. It's not just automating direct customer interactions.
Yes, absolutely. It directly enhances the effectiveness of the bank's sales and relationship management teams.
Oh,
GenAI tools can proactively identify customers who are at high risk of churning, allowing customer success teams to intervene with targeted retention offers in a timely manner. These systems can also pinpoint ideal cross-selling and upselling opportunities. For instance, flagging a mortgage customer who might be eligible for a refinance, or a small business owner whose transaction patterns suggest a need for a line of credit. The AI can even assist in drafting personalized outreach communications, like emails or SMS messages, to initiate these conversations.
so it helps craft the message too.
Yes, and the impact of this approach is significant. The UK digital bank Monzo, for example, improved the effectiveness of its marketing campaigns by up to 200% by using AI to predict which individual customers should receive which promotional message to maximize the outcome.
200%. That's a massive improvement in targeting and conversion.
It is. Okay, third area, streamlining loan underwriting.
Right. Loan underwriting has always been a notoriously manual, time-consuming, and document-intensive process for banks. It seems ripe for disruption by technology.
Yeah.
Where does GenAI fit into this traditionally paper-heavy function?
This function is indeed ripe for augmentation. The most promising application in this area is the development of an AI underwriting copilot. This is essentially a digital assistant that works alongside human credit analysts to accelerate the process while maintaining consistently high standards of quality. This copilot can automate the laborious tasks of ingesting thousands of pages of complex loan documents, financial records, appraisals, various legal forms, and using natural language processing to extract critical data points from them. The AI can then automatically populate standardized sections of credit memos, answer routine questions, and summarize key information. This process can potentially reduce the overall underwriting time by 50% or more.
50%. So the AI handles the heavy lifting of data extraction and document processing, freeing the human to focus on the truly complex parts that require judgment and human nuance.
Precisely. It augments rather than replaces. By handling the repetitive, low-value work of data extraction and document processing, the AI copilot frees the human analyst to focus on the higher-value tasks. Things like complex risk assessment, critical thinking, and ultimately, final decision-making. This human-in-the-loop approach allows the bank to gain significant efficiencies and speed up loan approval times, which, as you can imagine, is a key driver of customer satisfaction. And all without sacrificing the expert judgment that is essential to sound credit risk management. It's leveraging machines for what they do best and humans for what only they can do.
Okay, final use case area. Bolstering fraud detection and prevention. In the constant battle against financial crime and fraud, GenAI sounds like a powerful new weapon. How does it enhance fraud detection beyond what traditional rule-based systems can achieve?
Well, traditional fraud detection systems often rely on static, rule-based engines that simply struggle to keep pace with the rapidly evolving tactics of sophisticated fraudsters. They're always playing catch-up. GenAI, in contrast, can analyze massive volumes of real-time transaction data, identifying subtle and highly complex patterns of unusual behavior that may indicate fraudulent activity. These models can detect anomalies across various geographies, transaction types, and customer segments, flagging suspicious activity that would likely be missed by human analysts or older systems due to its sheer complexity and speed.
And it can assist the human fraud investigation team, too, acting as a virtual partner, can it? Almost like the underwriting co-pilot.
Yes, absolutely. Similar to other domains, GenAI can serve as a powerful virtual assistant for the bank's fraud investigation team. When an alert is triggered, the AI can automatically gather and summarize all relevant case data, providing the human analyst with a comprehensive overview in mere seconds. Saves a ton of time. It can also help prioritize cases by triaging alerts and highlighting the highest risk incidents that require immediate human attention. Furthermore, by learning from the outcomes of past investigations, GenAI can suggest new and more effective monitoring rules to continuously refine the bank's defenses. This collaborative approach makes the entire fraud prevention function significantly more proactive and efficient. The potential impact is substantial. MasterCard's deployment of a new GenAI model, for instance, was projected to help its partner banks improve their fraud detection rates by 20%.
20% improvement.
And some saw improvements as high as 300%.
Wow.
That's a significant leap in defensive capability, allowing humans to focus on the most intricate, complex cases.
Erecting the digital scaffolding, foundational technology, and data transformation.
So it's abundantly clear that GenAI has immense potential for regional banks across all these areas. But the sources we've reviewed really emphasize that you can't simply bolt it onto an outdated system and expect miracles. It requires a deep foundational transformation of a bank's technological infrastructure. It's not just software.
This is precisely where the digital scaffolding comes in. You need to build the structure first. Successful GenAI implementation isn't just about procuring new software or licensing a powerful large language model, an LLM. It's entirely contingent on modernizing core systems and the underlying data architecture. A recent survey from a leading consulting firm found that while 72% of firms plan moderate to large investments in GenAI itself, an even greater number, more than 4 in 5 respondents ranked cybersecurity, data analytics, and cloud platforms as their top spending priorities.
Interesting. So the enablers are even more important initially.
Exactly. This highlights the growing recognition that robust IT is the critical enabler for scaling AI successfully. Without this robust foundation, even the most promising GenAI initiatives will struggle to move beyond the pilot stage.
At the heart of this modernization is cloud computing. Why is that so crucial for GenAI models specifically? What makes it indispensable for these applications?
Well, GenAI models, especially those large language models, are incredibly data-hungry and computationally intensive. The sheer volume of data required for training these models and the intensity of processing power needed for real-time inference. It's often far beyond the capacity of traditional on-premises data centers. Cloud infrastructure provides the flexibility and scalability needed. You can store massive data sets, manage assets, allocate compute resources on demand. Crucially, you only pay for what you use.
The elasticity.
Precisely. This transition requires strategic decisions on choosing the right cloud providers, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and critically, developing the internal expertise to manage these complex environments effectively. It's about elasticity and efficiency that on-premise solutions just can't match at this scale.
Okay, but many regional banks, by their very nature, are burdened by legacy systems, platforms that have been in place for decades. How do they realistically integrate modern AI tools with platforms that might be, decades old and weren't built for this kind of connectivity or data sharing? That seems like a significant hurdle.
It is. This legacy tech debt is indeed a formidable challenge. Many core banking platforms are decades old and simply weren't designed with the open, API-driven architecture that facilitates seamless integration with new technologies. This can significantly slow down or even halt GenAI deployment. One promising approach is the development of what's called a semantic layer.
A semantic layer.
Yes, it acts as a sophisticated translator, basically, converting complex, often proprietary data formats from these core banking systems into a structured, understandable format that GenAI models can consume. Another key strategy is to partner with technology vendors whose platforms are built on layered open architectures featuring well-documented APIs and event streaming capabilities. These can more easily connect to older systems, effectively bypassing some of those legacy hurdles.
And what about vendor lock-in? Especially with so many rapidly evolving AI providers and platforms popping up, that sounds like a significant risk in such a nascent market.
Oh, that's a very real risk.
Yeah.
The GenAI market is young, it's highly volatile. To mitigate this and avoid vendor lock-in, a recommended best practice is to design the bank's technology architecture in a modular, loosely coupled fashion.
Modular and loosely coupled, meaning?
Meaning you separate different functions like data preprocessing, model inference, the user interface into independent components. This modularity provides the flexibility to swap out one LLM provider for another or integrate new tools as they emerge without having to rebuild the entire system from scratch. This ensures long-term agility and resilience in a fast-changing landscape, giving the bank control over its technology stack.
From data silos to data products, a new paradigm for data management.
If technology is the horsepower, the material we've reviewed makes it clear that data is undeniably the fuel for GenAI. And this is a huge hurdle for many banks, particularly regional ones, isn't it? It feels like getting your data house in order is often the very first and maybe the most difficult step.
It absolutely is. Industry experts consistently identify data as the primary bottleneck for creating high-quality, reliable GenAI applications. The quality of data fed into an AI system is the bedrock of its performance. Poor, disorganized, or biased data will inevitably lead to inaccurate, unreliable, potentially harmful outputs. The classic garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
For regional banks, this is often exacerbated by the prevalence of data silos, where critical information is fragmented across numerous disconnected legacy systems that simply do not talk to each other. If an AI model only gets a partial or inconsistent view, its decisions will be inherently flawed and untrustworthy.
So how do they practically get their data house in order? What's the foundational step here for a bank struggling with fragmented data?
The very first step is establishing a comprehensive and rigorous data governance framework. And this isn't a one-time project, it's a continuous process of creating and enforcing policies and standards for how data is managed across the entire organization. A robust framework must cover several key domains. Data quality management, ensuring data is accurate, complete, consistent. Security and compliance, protecting sensitive info, adhering to privacy regulations. Data lifecycle management, clear ownership and accountability. And standardization, uniform definitions, formats across the enterprise to enable seamless data integration.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. But what's interesting and perhaps a bit meta is that AI itself can be a powerful tool for enhancing data governance. It can automate tasks like the classification of sensitive data and the tracking of regulatory compliance.
Our sources talk about a new, more strategic paradigm, treating data as a product. What exactly does that mean in a banking context? It sounds like a significant shift in thinking from just, storing information.
This is indeed a significant mindset shift. It moves away from simply storing raw data in lakes or warehouses and toward actively curating and packaging data into AI-ready assets tailored for specific business use cases. Think of it like refining a raw material. This approach is often conceptualized in 3 tiers. First, the bronze tier. This is the raw data, just as it's ingested from source systems, unrefined material. Then the silver tier. This is data that has undergone initial processing. It's been cleansed, validated, structured, enriched, getting closer to being usable. And finally, the gold tier. This is the crucial one. Decision-grade, context-rich data products that are fully governed, compliant, and ready to be fed directly into a GenAI model to generate insights or power an application. This is the refined, high-value asset purpose-built for AI consumption.
How do they actually achieve this gold-tier data, especially when faced with those persistent data silos we talked about? It sounds like a monumental task to unify all that information.
Well, a key enabling technology for this paradigm is logical data management, often implemented through data virtualization.
Data virtualization?
Yes. Instead of physically moving and replicating data from dozens of siloed systems into a central repository, which is incredibly costly, complex, and time-consuming, data virtualization creates a single, unified data access layer. This logical layer provides a real-time, governed view of all enterprise data, regardless of where it is physically stored. The research emphasizes that this capability represents the critical last mile in most GenAI initiatives. It ensures that the AI engine can access the fresh, compliant, and context-rich gold standard data it needs at the precise moment of decision, dramatically reducing the risk of model hallucinations and delivering far more trustworthy outcomes. It's about connectivity, not just consolidation.
Choosing an operating model for scalable innovation.
Okay, we've talked about the tech and the data infrastructure, foundational stuff. Now, the sources we've reviewed point to something equally vital for scaling GenAI, the organizational structure or operating model itself. It seems trying to force GenAI into an existing traditional banking model is a common mistake that leads to, well, stalled projects.
That's a huge insight. Successfully scaling GenAI demands a deliberate, tailored organizational structure, one that explicitly accounts for AI's rapid evolution, its novel risks, and its far-reaching implications across the organization. Our sources identify 4 primary archetypes for managing GenAI initiatives in financial services, each with its own characteristics. First, the highly centralized model. Here, a single central team handles everything: strategy, design, execution, maintenance.
Pros and cons.
Benefits are fast skill development within that team and consistent standards. The challenge: it can become an ivory tower, disconnected from the practical needs of the business units. Observed success rate is around 70% in getting use cases into production. Second, the centrally led, business unit executed model. This is more of a hybrid approach. A central team sets the overall GenAI strategy and standards, but the individual business units identify and execute projects aligned with their specific goals. The benefits: it balances central control with business agility, ensures consistent risk management, and allows for efficient talent allocation. Success rate is implied to be high, similar to the highly centralized model. Third, the business unit-led, centrally supported model. Here, the strategic drive comes more from the bottom up. Business units lead their own GenAI projects, with a smaller central team providing support and guidance.
Sounds agile.
It can be. The benefit is easy buy-in, and projects are highly relevant to immediate business needs. The challenge is it's difficult to implement enterprise-wide solutions, and it can lead to varying AI maturity and a fragmented data strategy across the organization. Its observed success rate is only about 50%. Finally, the highly decentralized model. Each business unit operates independently, pursuing its own GenAI initiatives. Benefit is maximum autonomy, quick specialized insights within a unit. But the challenges are significant: risk of inconsistent standards, lack of shared knowledge, inability to achieve scalable breakthroughs across the enterprise. Its observed success rate is the lowest, around 30%.
Okay, so given those options, which one is best suited for a regional bank? Especially considering they often have tighter budgets and existing legacy systems to deal with, resource allocation seems key.
Yeah, for a regional bank, the evidence strongly points toward the centrally led, business unit executed model as the optimal choice. Industry data shows a stark difference in outcomes. About 70% of financial institutions with a highly centralized or centrally led GenAI operating model have successfully put use cases into production, compared to only about 30% of those with a fully decentralized approach.
That's a huge difference. 70 versus 30% clearly indicates a more effective path.
It really does. This structure allows for the effective allocation of scarce AI talent, prevents redundant work across different departments, and most importantly, enforces consistent risk management and governance standards across the entire enterprise, which is critical. A decentralized model often fails precisely because it cannot impose consistent data standards across business units accustomed to working in silos, thereby perpetuating the core problem of fragmented, low-quality data.
It reinforces the silos, basically.
It's exactly. Conversely, a centrally led model succeeds precisely because one of its primary functions is to establish and govern that unified data platform and those gold standard data products we talked about. The whole organization can then leverage these for innovation. The central team's most critical role is not just abstract strategy, but the tangible work of building this trusted data foundation. This allows business units to then execute by building their specific applications on top of it. So the operating model serves as the vehicle for transformation, but robust, centralized data governance is its engine.
Navigating the labyrinth of risk, compliance, and ethics.
With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And GenAI certainly comes with significant risks. The sources we've reviewed dedicate an entire section to this labyrinth of risk, compliance, and ethics. It's clearly not an afterthought for regional banks. It has to be a foundational concern.
No, absolutely not an afterthought. It's a core strategic function. For a highly regulated entity like a regional bank, a single misstep in managing model bias, ensuring regulatory compliance, or upholding ethical standards, it can lead to severe financial penalties, lasting reputational damage, and critically, an erosion of customer trust, which is arguably the most valuable asset for a community-focused institution. Therefore, the foundation of responsible AI adoption is establishing a formal AI governance framework before widespread deployment.
Before you roll anything out.
Exactly. This proactive approach contrasts sharply with many organizations where a recent survey revealed that only 32% of financial firms have a formal AI governance program in place.
Only 32%. That's concerning.
It is. That's a significant and potentially very costly risk management gap that needs to be addressed immediately.
So what does an effective AI governance framework look like in practice? What are its core principles, or the quality checks, as the research puts it, that banks should be building into their AI strategy?
Well, our sources draw from established best practices like KPMG's Trusted AI Framework, which is built on a set of inviolable core principles. These act as quality checks for every GenAI initiative. Let's unpack some of them. First, fairness and bias management. This means actively designing and testing systems to reduce or eliminate unfair bias against any individuals or protected groups. Ignoring this risks severe regulatory fines for discrimination, like under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, ECOA, which focuses on fair lending and significant reputational damage. Banks need to conduct bias audits on training data before it's used, implement fairness metrics to test for disparate impact, and crucially, ensure diverse teams are involved in AI development and testing. Second, transparency and explainability. XAI. This is about ensuring that AI-driven decisions are understandable. Their logic needs to be clearly explained to all stakeholders, customers, employees, regulators.
The black box problem.
Exactly. This is the cornerstone of trust. If ignored, it leads to erosion of customer trust, confusion, and regulatory scrutiny over potentially deceptive practices. Banks should mandate clear disclosures, like you are interacting with an AI assistant in chatbots, and publish high-level information about how AI is used in key processes. Third, accountability and human oversight, HITL. This principle emphasizes embedding clear lines of human responsibility and control throughout the AI lifecycle. It mandates a human in the loop for critical processes with the authority to review, question, and override AI decisions. Without it, there's no recourse for incorrect decisions and a potential for operational chaos. This requires establishing cross-functional AI governance committees with defined ownership and mandating HITL review for high-stakes decisions like final credit approval or large-scale customer communications. Fourth, data integrity and quality. This guarantees that all data used to train and operate AI models is accurate, complete, appropriate for the task, and legally acquired. The garbage in, garbage out principle is a critical risk here, leading to flawed outputs and regulatory penalties. This means implementing a robust data governance program, certifying those gold standard data sets for specific AI models, and automating data quality checks in data pipelines. Fifth, reliability and safety. This means validating that the AI solution consistently operates as intended and includes safeguards to prevent harm to individuals or the institution. Ignoring this leads to inconsistent customer experiences and operational disruptions. Rigorous stress testing, scenario analysis before deployment, and ongoing performance monitoring with clear thresholds and alerts are essential. And sixth, privacy and security. This involves designing systems from the ground up to protect customer data, comply with privacy laws like GDPR and CCPA, and defend against a new generation of AI-driven cybersecurity threats. Risks here include data breaches, financial losses from AI-enabled fraud, and system manipulation. Banks must strictly prohibit the use of public GenAI tools with sensitive customer or proprietary bank data, implement strong access controls for AI development environments, and train employees to recognize and report sophisticated AI-generated phishing attempts.
Model risk management, MRM, in the age of hallucinations.
Okay, model risk management, or MRM. It isn't a new concept for banks. They've always managed risks with their financial models. But GenAI introduces some fascinating new challenges, particularly this idea of hallucinations. It sounds like something out of science fiction, but it's real, right?
Indeed, it can feel that way, but it's a very real technical challenge. This raises an important question. What happens when an AI literally makes things up? GenAI models are susceptible to novel failure modes, most prominently hallucinations. That is, the tendency to generate information that is factually incorrect, nonsensical, or completely fabricated, and also toxicity, which is the generation of harmful, biased, or inappropriate content. These unique risks can severely undermine the reliability of AI-driven processes, erode user trust, and expose the bank to significant legal and reputational damage if not carefully managed.
So how do banks validate these models effectively given these new and complex risks? Traditional methods for model validation might not be enough to catch these new failure modes, right? They weren't designed for this.
You're absolutely right. Traditional MRM frameworks aren't fully equipped for this. Financial services regulations consequently require rigorous, enhanced MRM, including independent validation, prior to approval and use of any GenAI application. Best practices are rapidly evolving, but a strong consensus is forming around several key principles. First, develop use case-specific metrics. Generic performance metrics are simply insufficient for assessing the nuances of LLMs. Validation teams must design and implement robust measures tailored precisely to the model's specific intended use. For example, a document summarization model needs very different evaluation criteria than, say, a sentiment analysis tool or a code generation application. Second, mandate human-in-the-loop HITL review. For the foreseeable future, human oversight is absolutely indispensable. Qualified individuals must conduct sample-based checks on the model's outputs for accuracy, relevance, and appropriateness. The more critical or high risk the application, the more extensive and complete the human review process must be. This acts as a crucial safety net against AI errors. Third, leverage LLMs as validators. Now, this is interesting. For large-scale and complex models, manually reviewing a sufficient sample of outputs can become impractical due to sheer volume. An emerging best practice is to use a separate, highly specialized LLM as an evaluator to check the outputs of the target LLM.
Using an AI to check an AI.
Exactly. This LLM as a judge approach can achieve the scale and coverage required for robust validation. However, this introduces its own complexity, as the evaluator model must itself be carefully designed and validated, and human oversight is still ultimately required for that process. It's a layer of AI evaluating another layer. Fourth, validate the training data. This is critical and often overlooked. Validation teams must scrutinize the data on which the model was trained to ensure it is relevant, complete, and sufficiently up to date. A model trained on data with a cutoff date that precedes the enactment of a new regulation, for instance, will inevitably produce non-compliant outputs. For third-party models, assessing the vendor's data practices and training methodologies becomes a crucial part of the bank's due diligence process. And fifth, automate validation workflows. Given the scale and complexity of GenAI, automation is no longer optional but imperative for an effective MRM function. Modern MRM platforms can help automate and streamline the entire validation lifecycle. This includes creating customized risk assessment frameworks, integrating all relevant stakeholders' risk, compliance, legal, IT into the review workflow, and automating the generation of documentation, testing procedures, and audit trails for full auditability.
The regulatory tightrope, ensuring compliance.
The regulatory environment for AI is constantly changing, definitely a moving target, with new frameworks emerging globally. Yet the material we've reviewed makes one thing unequivocally clear. Existing laws and regulations apply to AI just as they do to any other technology or process. This isn't some regulatory free pass for new tech. Banks are held to the same standards.
That's absolutely right. In the U.S., a joint statement from major regulators like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, the Department of Justice, DOJ, the FTC, the EEOC, they affirm their commitment to enforcing existing laws to mitigate the risks of AI. This places the burden of proof squarely on banks to demonstrate that their AI systems are designed and operated in a compliant manner. For regional banks, several regulatory domains demand heightened attention. First, fair lending. This is arguably the area of highest regulatory risk. AI models used in credit underwriting must not perpetuate or amplify existing biases that lead to discriminatory outcomes for protected classes. This would violate laws like the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Fair Housing Act. The black box nature of some AI models, where the reasoning is opaque, presents a direct challenge here.
Because you can't explain the decision easily.
Exactly. The CFPB has issued specific guidance stating that lenders using AI are still required to provide specific, accurate, and understandable reasons for adverse credit decisions, like loan denial. This makes model explainability not just a best practice, but a legal necessity. Second, know your customer, KYC, and anti-money laundering, AML. GenAI offers powerful tools to enhance AML compliance. It can fine-tune transaction monitoring rules, improve the accuracy of name screening against sanctions lists, detect complex anomalous behavior. However, to satisfy regulators, these systems must be highly accurate, auditable, and transparent. It's also important to note that gaps in the bank's underlying KYC data can significantly hamper their effectiveness, underscoring the need for strong data governance as a prerequisite for any compliance technology. And third, data privacy and security. Using vast data sets, including sensitive customer information to train and operate GenAI models triggers significant data privacy obligations. Strict adherence to regulations like GDPR and CCPA is fundamental to responsible AI deployment. A major compliance risk has emerged from employees using public GenAI tools like the free version of ChatGPT and inputting sensitive customer or proprietary bank data.
Yeah, that seems like a huge risk.
It is. This act can directly contravene privacy laws and expose the institution to data leakage, a very real threat. Needs strong policies and training.
So, given how dynamic and evolving AI regulation is, what posture should banks, especially regional ones, adopt to navigate this constant change? Is it about being reactive or proactive?
Definitely proactive. Continuous vigilance is key. The AI governance framework cannot be a set it and forget it exercise.
Yeah.
It must be a living program with processes for continuously monitoring the global regulatory landscape, like the EU AI Act, setting precedents for the industry, and adapting policies and controls accordingly. This proactive and adaptive approach is essential to staying ahead of the curve and ensuring ongoing compliance in a rapidly shifting legal environment.
Codifying ethics beyond compliance.
We've talked extensively about compliance, which is about adhering to the letter of the law, following the rules. But the research we've seen pushes further, suggesting that a deep commitment to ethics is what truly builds long-term trust and reinforces a bank's reputation, going beyond mere legal requirements.
Absolutely. While regulatory compliance sets the legal floor for AI adoption, an ethical AI framework ensures that systems are not only legal, but also inherently fair, accountable, and aligned with the bank's values and its obligations to its customers and community. Ethics and governance are not separate pursuits. Rather, ethical principles are enacted and enforced through the mechanisms of the governance framework. Fostering an ethical AI culture requires more than just pronouncements. It requires codified guidelines, comprehensive training programs, and clear accountability structures throughout the organization. It needs to become part of the bank's DNA.
The primary ethical challenge mentioned by the research, and it's a big one, is algorithmic bias. Where does that bias typically come from in AI systems? Is it intentional or is it more subtle?
It's rarely malicious in intent. It's almost always a direct reflection of the historical data used to train the model. For example, if a bank's past lending decisions contained unconscious biases against certain demographic groups, maybe based on zip codes or other proxy variables, an AI model trained on that historical data will not only learn to replicate those biases, but will do so with ruthless efficiency and at a massive scale, effectively encoding the discrimination of the past into the future.
Wow, that's a powerful and, frankly, a bit unsettling thought, where past inequities can be amplified automatically.
It is a profound concern. So mitigating this significant ethical risk requires more than just a quick fix or a simple checkbox. It needs a multi-pronged strategy. First, a data-centric approach. The most effective point of intervention is at the source, the data itself. This means investing heavily in high-quality data collection practices, ensuring that training datasets are diverse and truly representative of the entire community the bank serves, and meticulously cleaning data to identify and remove sources of bias before any model is built. Second, algorithm auditing and fairness metrics. Banks must implement processes for regularly auditing their AI algorithms. This involves using quantitative fairness metrics to test for and measure any discriminatory patterns in model outcomes across different demographic groups. This provides objective insight into potential biases. And third, human-centric design. All AI systems, particularly those that interact with customers, must be designed for human agency and oversight. This means users must always be clearly informed when they're interacting with an AI and must have a simple, accessible escalation path to a human to review or contest any AI-driven decision or outcome. Transparency and human recourse are key. Ultimately, the concepts of model validation, regulatory compliance, and ethical principles are deeply interconnected. They all rely on each other. And the linchpin that holds them all together, the central enabling capability for all these functions, is explainability, XAI.
Explainability again, it keeps coming up.
It's critical. Without the ability to understand and interpret why a GenAI model has produced a particular output, the entire risk management structure becomes untenable. For risk management, a validator cannot effectively check for hallucinations if the model's reasoning is opaque. For compliance, a bank cannot meet its legal obligation to provide a specific reason for a credit denial if its own AI model can't explain its decision. And for ethics, an auditor can't identify and mitigate bias if they can't inspect the model's decision-making process to see if it is relying on inappropriate or discriminatory factors. Therefore, for a regional bank, investing in and demanding a high degree of explainability from its AI tools and vendors is not a technical nicety. It is the central foundational requirement for the entire governance, risk, and compliance function. It's the key to trust and accountability.
The human-centric transformation. Cultivating an AI-first culture.
Okay, we've explored the technology, the data, the crucial risks. Important stuff. Now, the research emphasizes that the successful integration of GenAI is fundamentally a human challenge. Technology and data provide the infrastructure, sure, but it's the organization's culture, its leadership, its people, its collaborative spirit that ultimately determines success or failure.
This human-centric transformation is especially critical for regional banks, whose competitive advantage has always been rooted deeply in people and relationships within their communities. That's their core strength. The financial institutions making the most significant headway in scaling AI have one thing in common. The initiative is treated as a core, CEO-level strategic priority, not something delegated solely to IT. Top-down leadership is absolutely essential to energize the organization, secure the necessary funding and resources, and eliminate the inevitable organizational bottlenecks that arise during a major transformation like this. Without that executive buy-in, even the best technical plans can stall.
So leaders themselves need to evolve in their skill sets.
Yeah.
And focus, right? It's not just about understanding finance or operations anymore. They need to become fluent in AI strategy.
Yes, absolutely. Bank executives must become digitally savvy, developing a deep understanding of AI's capabilities, its various models, and importantly, its limitations. This isn't about learning to code. It's about being able to identify strategic opportunities and envision how this technology can be used to enhance the entire banking value chain, from back office automation to front office personalization. A primary responsibility of leadership is to champion a clear, compelling vision for AI, define clear objectives that embed security and responsibility from the outset, and drive the comprehensive change management plan required for successful adoption. Furthermore, as AI automates many technical and logical tasks, leaders must increasingly focus on skills with a stronger human touch. Emotional intelligence, empathy, communication, a deep understanding of the people dynamics within the organization. These are the skills required to lead a workforce through the disruption of AI and to foster a culture that values creativity, critical thinking, and curiosity, human traits that are highly complementary to the strengths of artificial intelligence.
The AI talent roadmap, reskilling and upskilling the workforce.
The research points to a significant obstacle to AI adoption for financial institutions: the talent gap. More than half of all banks report struggling with the shortage of AI skills, and 53% of financial service executives find it difficult to recruit qualified candidates for AI-related roles. How do banks, especially regional ones with potentially fewer resources, bridge this gap?
Well, to overcome this, regional banks need a deliberate, multi-year AI talent roadmap. This roadmap needs to combine strategic hiring with a massive internal upskilling and reskilling effort. This isn't just an HR exercise. It's a blueprint for systematically maturing the bank's organizational capabilities over time. It's about growing their own talent from within and bringing in targeted expertise where needed.
This sounds like a cultural change roadmap in disguise, really, with each new role or skill acting as a catalyst for a deeper shift. Can you walk us through this phased approach for building that human capital within a bank? How does it unfold over time?
Absolutely. It's very much a cultural journey. Each new role acts as a catalyst, years 1 to 2. Discovery phase. The initial focus here is on establishing the foundational pillars of governance and compliance. Critical groundwork. Key hires should include a director of data governance to begin the critical work of breaking down data silos and establishing data quality standards, and an AI compliance specialist to navigate the complex and evolving regulatory landscape. Concurrently, the bank should roll out broad-based training for all employees on AI fundamentals and responsible use policies. Get everyone on the same page. The cultural shift during this phase is from data silos to data awareness, where everyone understands the importance of clean, accessible data as a strategic asset. Years 2 to learning, foundational phase. With governance starting to take shape, the focus shifts to building the core technical infrastructure. This phase requires hiring a director of AI to lead the overall strategy and an AI architect to design the scalable technical frameworks. These roles are essential for centralizing expertise and ensuring the bank builds a coherent, enterprise-wide AI platform rather than a collection of disconnected projects. Upskilling here involves prompt engineering basics, using internal AI tools like chatbots or knowledge bases, and understanding model limitations. The cultural shift is from decentralized experiments to centralized strategy, bringing order and direction to the AI efforts. Years 4 to 7, operational phase. Once the foundational platform is built, the bank can begin to embed AI capabilities directly into the business lines, making it real for different departments. This involves hiring or developing specialized roles like machine learning engineers to build and maintain models, and AI product managers who can translate specific business needs in areas like credit, fraud, or marketing into technical requirements. Upskilling focuses on interpreting AI-driven dashboards and analytics, understanding human-in-the-loop verification processes, and effectively collaborating with AI co-pilots. The ultimate cultural shift in this phase is from AI being seen as just an IT thing to AI as business, an organic integral capability that drives strategic outcomes. And alongside this strategic hiring, upskilling the entire workforce is absolutely paramount. Every professional in finance, from tellers to analysts to executives, must develop new competencies in areas like data interpretation, prompt engineering, process optimization. Just to remain competitive in this evolving landscape, a wide array of training programs are becoming available, from short online courses on AI fundamentals to in-depth certifications in AI for compliance. Importantly, this training must also extend to the responsible and ethical use of AI, ensuring every employee understands the bank's policies and the risks involved when interacting with these powerful new tools. It's a continuous learning journey for everyone.
The collaboration imperative, designing for human AI synergy.
This idea of human in the loop, or HITL, seems absolutely central to a responsible and effective AI strategy for banks. It's truly about combining strengths, not about one replacing the other. Can you elaborate on that synergy? How does it work best?
Yes. The most effective and responsible approach to implementing AI in banking is one that explicitly centers on human-AI collaboration. The goal is not to create fully autonomous systems that replace human workers, but rather to design intelligent tools that augment and amplify human capabilities. This synergistic model, often referred to as human in the loop, asserts that the best outcomes are achieved by combining the immense strengths of technology with the irreplaceable input of human experts. It's a partnership, not a takeover.
So, to break it down, what does AI do best and what do humans do best in this partnership? Where does each truly excel to create a more powerful outcome?
Okay, good question. In this model, AI excels at what machines do best. Processing vast amounts of data at incredible speeds, identifying complex patterns that would be invisible to humans, automating routine, repetitive tasks. This effectively frees human employees from tedious, often mind-numbing work. Humans, in turn, focus on what they do best. Exercising nuanced judgment, understanding complex context, providing crucial empathy, making nuanced ethical considerations, things AI struggles with.
That human touch.
Exactly. For example, an AI system can analyze thousands of data points to assess a customer's creditworthiness with incredible speed. But the final loan approval decision can and should be made by a human analyst who can consider non-standard situations or the broader customer relationship. Similarly, a chatbot can efficiently handle 90% of simple customer service inquiries, but a complex or emotionally charged issue is seamlessly escalated to a human advisor who can provide reassurance and build rapport, something AI cannot truly replicate.
This collaborative approach seems absolutely key to maintaining the regional bank's core value proposition, that crucial human touch that sets them apart from larger, more impersonal institutions. It's about protecting their brand identity, isn't it?
Absolutely. Personal connection and deep relationships with customers are key differentiators that build trust and long-term loyalty for regional banks. It's what they're known for. By designing AI systems to support employees rather than supplant them, banks can optimize operational efficiency without sacrificing the quality of service and those personal relationships that define their brand and community focus. The future of banking truly lies in this harmonious blend of human intelligence and AI capabilities, where technology handles the transactions, empowering people to focus on the relationships that foster loyalty.
Communication and change management.
Okay, any major transformation, especially one involving technology that can feel a bit intimidating like AI, comes with a mix of excitement, uncertainty, and sometimes, let's face it, resistance. How do banks effectively navigate this human element when introducing AI to their workforce?
Well, a thoughtful and transparent communication and change management strategy is absolutely essential. It can't be an afterthought. As with any major organizational shift, the introduction of AI will be met with a spectrum of reactions. Proactively managing this human element is critical for driving adoption and ensuring the new tools are used effectively and responsibly. A cornerstone of this strategy is breaking down departmental silos and fostering a culture of cross-functional collaboration. AI projects are inherently interdisciplinary, requiring input from business lines, technology, data science, risk, compliance, legal. Everyone needs to be involved. Leaders must create platforms and processes like internal communities of practice or regular knowledge-sharing sessions that encourage employees from different backgrounds to work together, share best practices, and generate new ideas.
Transparency sounds like it's a non-negotiable element here, especially when dealing with such a transformative technology. You need to be open about it.
It's crucial. Absolutely non-negotiable. It's not enough to simply deploy a new tool. Leaders must communicate clearly and openly to all stakeholders, employees, customers, regulators, about how AI systems are being used, what data they are trained on, and how they make decisions. This transparency is vital for building the trust and accountability necessary for widespread acceptance. It also involves establishing formal feedback loops to actively solicit input and ideas from employees who are using the AI tools on the front lines. Their experience is invaluable. Recognizing and rewarding those who contribute to AI innovation can create a supportive and inclusive environment that inspires the entire organization to embrace the change.
And what about the natural concern employees might have about job security? That's often the elephant in the room when new automation technologies are introduced. How do leaders address that directly and effectively?
Communication must directly address this head-on. You can't ignore it. The narrative should consistently frame AI not as a tool for replacement, but as a tool for augmentation and empowerment. Leaders should emphasize how AI will automate the most tedious and repetitive parts of their jobs, freeing them to focus on more strategic, creative, and fulfilling work that requires their unique human expertise. By clearly articulating how AI enhances roles and supports the bank's mission, leadership can transform anxiety into enthusiasm and build a workforce that is ready and willing to partner with its new digital colleagues, seeing AI as a powerful enabler for their own growth and impact.
A phased blueprint for implementation.
So we've explored the imperative, the use cases, the underlying technology, the crucial risks, and the vital human element. Covered a lot of ground. Now, how does a regional bank actually begin this massive transformation? The research strongly advises against a big bang approach, recommending instead a phased, methodical rollout. Seems sensible.
That's right. A staged approach is much smarter. It minimizes upfront investment, mitigates risk, and uses early successes to build momentum and secure buy-in for broader initiatives. It follows a logical progression of steps. Step 1. Define business goals and vision. The journey begins with strategy, not technology, always. Before selecting any tool, leadership must clearly define the business objectives the AI program is intended to support. AI should not be adopted simply because it's a shiny new tool, but because it aligns with the bank's core purpose and addresses specific challenges or opportunities, whether in risk management, business development, or operational efficiency. Step 2. Start small with high-impact pilots. Rather than attempting a large, complex deployment from the outset, the bank should identify a handful of well-chosen pilot projects. Ideal initial use cases are often internal-facing, as this minimizes regulatory and customer-facing risk. Get your feet wet internally first. Examples include using GenAI to improve the quality and efficiency of software development, to summarize internal documents and regulatory filings, or to create those agent assist tools for call centers to enhance productivity. These types of pilots can deliver tangible, measurable benefits in as little as 3 to 6 months, providing quick wins that demonstrate the technology's value internally and build confidence. Step 3. Establish clear metrics for success. To justify further investment and scaling, it is crucial to focus on use cases with clear, quantifiable metrics. You need to show it works. The success of a pilot project should be measured against predefined key performance indicators, KPIs, such as reductions in customer call handling time, decreases in loan processing error rates, or improvements in employee productivity. This test-and-learn approach provides the hard, actionable data needed to build a compelling business case for expansion and improve ROI. Step 4. Build a repeatable process for innovation. As the bank moves beyond its initial pilots, it must establish a structured, repeatable process for qualifying, developing, and delivering new GenAI projects. Avoid reinventing the wheel each time. This innovation framework should include a formal intake process where business units can submit ideas, a review by that cross-disciplinary AI governance committee, including representatives from risk, compliance, legal, a thorough model risk validation, and a final executive approval before any project moves into production. This ensures that all initiatives are vetted for value, feasibility, and risk in a consistent manner. And step 5, scale and monitor continuously. Once a pilot project has proven successful and has been approved through the governance process, then it can be scaled across the relevant parts of the organization. Deployment, however, is not the end of the process. The bank must implement robust systems for the continuous monitoring of the AI model's performance, risk profile, and ongoing compliance. This includes establishing feedback loops with end users to collect input and identify areas for improvement, allowing the models to be refined and retrained over time to maintain their effectiveness and safety. It's an iterative journey, not a one-off project.
Forging the AI native regional bank. A strategic synthesis and forward outlook.
So after this entire deep dive, thinking about all these pieces, what does it truly mean for a regional bank to become an AI native institution? It sounds like much more than just using a few AI tools. It feels like a profound shift in identity.
It really is. The research we've analyzed makes it clear. It's not simply a technology project. It is a holistic business transformation. It requires the simultaneous evolution of strategy, infrastructure, governance, and culture, all working together. The path forward rests on the careful construction and integration of 4 interconnected pillars. 1, a centrally led operating model that balances control with business agility. 2, a robust data governance foundation that treats data as a strategic productized asset. 3, a comprehensive trusted AI risk framework that prioritizes fairness, explainability, and accountability. And finally, 4, a human-centric culture driven by visionary leadership that embraces collaboration and continuous learning.
This really sounds like an ongoing journey, doesn't it? Not a fixed destination where they just arrive and say, okay, we're done with AI now.
Precisely. You've hit it exactly. Achieving the status of an AI-first or AI-native institution is not a destination with a fixed end date. It is a commitment to a state of perpetual evolution. The frameworks, processes, and cultural norms outlined in this blueprint are not designed to be static. They can't be. They are intended to create an agile and resilient foundation that will allow the bank to adapt to new AI capabilities, shifting regulatory expectations, and evolving customer demands. Things that will define the financial services landscape for the next decade and beyond. It's about building a future-proof institution.
What's the ultimate prize in all this for a regional bank when they navigate all this complexity? What's the biggest takeaway, the biggest win for them by embracing this transformation so thoroughly?
For a regional bank, the ultimate prize is not technological supremacy, nor is it simply cutting costs, though those are certainly benefits. It is the profound enhancement of trust.
Trust, back to their core strength.
Exactly. In an era where technology can often feel impersonal and opaque, a bank that takes a measured, responsible, transparent, and human-centric approach to implementing artificial intelligence can powerfully reaffirm its commitment to its customers and its community. By leveraging GenAI to deliver services that are more personalized, more efficient, and more secure, while always preserving the vital role of human judgment and empathy, a regional bank can turn the formidable challenge of a new technology into a powerful affirmation of its most enduring values. This is the path to not only surviving the AI revolution, but truly thriving within it, cementing its place as a trusted partner in the community. Outro.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive. We've navigated the pretty complex landscape of generative AI in regional banking, from its strategic, imperative, and practical use cases to the foundational technology required, the crucial risks involved, and, critically, the vital human-centric transformation that must accompany it.
Yeah, we've seen how regional banks, often seen as, traditional, are truly at an inflection point. GenAI offers them a unique opportunity to amplify their core strengths, community focus, trusted advisory, while also navigating these new frontiers of risk, compliance, and talent development.
It's a powerful story, really, of how technology, when approached thoughtfully and with human values at its core, can redefine an industry and strengthen the very relationships that define a regional bank. It's a reminder that even the most advanced tech needs that human touch.
Absolutely. So as you reflect on what we've discussed today, here's a thought to mull over. In the coming years, as more and more banks adopt AI, how will you, as a customer or an industry observer, truly distinguish between a bank that merely adopts AI for efficiency versus one that genuinely embeds it ethically and humanely, strengthening trust and relationships? What will be the ultimate differentiator in this AI-powered financial future?
Great question to leave our listeners with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.